Miles Taylor admits that he's the whistleblower and nobody seems to really care what he blew the whistle about, so we'll talk a bit about what happened there. Big Tech comes up and testifies on the Hill once again. Is it productive? You decide. The Girl Scouts make a tweet that's very, very proud of Amy Coney Barrett and then delete the tweet because of backlash. And election season is in high gear. Everyone's out there trying to pull people to their camp, and everybody thinks they're going to win. I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary. Good morning, folks. Welcome to Contemporary. My name is Jay Edgar. We've got a bunch of stuff to get to, and my whole computer was locked up here for just a bit while I was trying to get all of this organized. Look at that tab bar at the top. There's so much happening in the run-up to the election. Everybody's crazy. Everybody's out of their fucking minds, which is something that I pointed out. I don't know if anybody saw this yesterday, but I put out a solo video last night explaining why I decided that I'm going to vote for Trump. And I'm going to do it kicking and screaming. I didn't want to do it, but after looking at all the available evidence and everything else that's going on around there, not only am I going to vote for him, he has an endorsement from me. Although a reluctant endorsement. But the video is up. It's on YouTube. It's caught2freedomscoop.com, so you can go check that out over on the website or over on youtube.com/jedgar101. Didn't live stream it because everybody else was live streaming at the same time. RRC and Steven were both live streaming, and Generational Gap was about to pop up. So I just said, you know what? We'll make a solo video. We'll put the intro to it and the outro to it, and there it is. My reasoning, my reluctance, the reason I almost didn't. It's all there. Go and check that out. Leave a comment if you like. Leave a like if you like. But we've got a bunch to get to today and not a lot of time for me to self-promo that solo video. So before we get into any of that, head on over to freedomscoop.com. Freedomscoop.com is going to be your one-stop shop for all your news and commentary needs. We carry great shows such as The Daily Ignoramus, The Generational Gap, The Freckles and Brit Show. We also carry The Breakdown with Birkenhoff and The R-Rated Conservative. Come on over there. Pick up some of our swag and help us support great creators. All right, looking in at the stocks here for the day. Let that think a bit because, and I didn't bring that up there again. It was a tumble of a day, 900 points down. Remember, we saw 27 in that bar yesterday, but yep, we lost 900 points on the markets yesterday. Coming down to the wire. Nobody knows what's going to happen in 5 days. Everybody wants to speculate. Tech is up on the hill. Bezos wants to buy CNN. It's a mess right now. Nobody knows what's going to happen, and that's what's going to be for 2020. Hopefully we won't have another sharp drop-off like we saw before. Let's see what the investors have to say. From Investors Business Daily. Maybe, if it thinks. This thing is so slow. Oh, come on. Really? This is the one that they want to do. All right. Not from Investors Business Daily. It's so sad that CNBC gives you free articles all the time, even if you do have an ad blocker up, and IBD is the first one to say, pay me, when they want to. All right, let's try this again. From CNBC, Dow sinks more than 900 points for its worst drop since June amid rising virus cases globally. From Fred Imbert. U.S. stocks fell sharply on Wednesday amid concerns over the latest increase in coronavirus infections and its potential impact on the global economy. The Dow Jones Industrial Average dropped 943.24 points or 3.4% to 26,519.95, posting its fourth straight negative session. The S&P 500 slid 3.5% or 119.65 points to 3271.03, while the Nasdaq Composite fell 3.7% or 426.48 to 11,004.87. The Dow and the S&P 500 both suffered their worst day since June 11th. The U.S. indices took their cues from the European market benchmarks. The German DAX fell 4.2% to its lowest level since late May. The French CAC 40 slid 3.4%. The FTSE 100 in London closed 2.6% lower. U.S. coronavirus cases have risen by a daily record average of 71,832 over the past week. Data compiled by Johns Hopkins University showed, meanwhile, coronavirus-related hospitalizations are up 5% or more in 36 states, according to data from the COVID Tracking Project. Cases are also rising sharply across Europe. Well, I can't exactly explain it over in Europe, but I also know that, and something to watch for, it's cold in the northern hemisphere. The flu virus gives false positives, and first and foremost, there's an election in 5 days. Definitely some things to keep an eye on as we go into the coronavirus and what's going to happen from it. The recent uptick in COVID cases has led some countries to reinstate certain social distancing measures. In the U.S., the state of Illinois has ordered Chicago to shut down indoor dining when it's cold. Let's see how that works. In Europe, German officials agreed to a 4-week partial lockdown while the French government imposed new nationwide restrictions until December 1st. I think there's going to be a call for lockdowns, the likes of which we've seen in Chicago. CNBC's Jim Cramer said on Wednesday, "The lockdowns without the stimulus equals what we're seeing. It's a shame because there's been stimulus. We'd be focusing on earnings, and the earnings are actually pretty darn good," he said. Stocks that would be hurt the most by lockdowns or slowdowns in the economy reopening led the declines on Wednesday. Shares of United Airlines fell 4.6%. Royal Caribbean shares lost 7.4%, while Norwegian Cruise Line and Carnival dropped 9.1% and 10.6%, respectively. The cases. The CBO volatility index, known on Wall Street as the market's fear gauge, jumped above 40 and hit its highest level since June 15th. Investors' hopes that COVID pandemic would not force further stringent mitigations, measures, or potential wholesale lockdowns that would push global economies back into low consumption mode appear to be coming under challenge, said Yusuf Abbasi, global market strategist at StoneX. Avoiding these stringent measures has been a major tenet of the bullish thesis, particularly for those looking to value stocks for a steeper yield curve. Cases! The 30-stock Dow has fallen 6.4% this week so far, on pace for its biggest weekly drop since March. The S&P 500 is down 5.6% in this period, also headed for its worst week since March. The tech-heavy NASDAQ has dropped 4.7% this week. So they're going to start throwing cases at you again. And once again, we're in cold season. We're in flu season. Definitely something to watch for off of this. And I am waiting to see what happens after this vote is over. That's the bouncing ball that I want to watch. So we'll see what happens up off of this. Screw you, IBD, for your paywall. We'll figure that out in the off-camera point. And let's see about this huge revelation that nobody gave a damn about. From the Associated Press, former DHS official says he wrote the anonymous Trump critique. From Kevin Freaking and Zeke Miller. A former Trump administration official who penned a scathing anti-Trump op-ed and book under a pen name Anonymous revealed himself Wednesday as former chief of staff at the Department of Homeland Security. The official, Miles Taylor, who came forward 6 days before Election Day to criticize President Trump as a man without character, he said he hoped other former administration officials will find their conscience when they wake up tomorrow and speak up too. Taylor has been an outspoken critic of Trump in recent months and has repeatedly denied he was the author of the column and subsequent book, even to colleagues at CNN, where he was a contributor, contract. He left the Trump administration in June 2019 and endorsed Democrat Joe Biden for president this summer. No way! He's critical of Trump? He worked for Trump? And he endorsed Joe Biden? I'm shocked. Shocked, I tell you. Trump and the White House officials moved quickly to describe Taylor as someone with little standing and clout. This guy's a low-level lowlife, and I don't know. I have no idea who he is, other than I got to see him a little while ago on television, Trump told a campaign rally crowd in Arizona as he belittled Taylor as a sleazebag and called for his prosecution. The crowd broke into cheers of "Drain that swamp." But as DHS Chief of Staff, Taylor was in many White House meetings with the president on his border policy and other major homeland security issues during Taylor's time as Chief of Staff. Trump threatened to shut down the border, and his administration developed the policy to force asylum seekers to wait across the U.S.-Mexico border. White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows has called Taylor's revelation a monumental embarrassment, tweeting, that's Mark Meadows, not Trump. "I've seen more exciting reveals in Scooby-Doo episodes." And that's who the real whistleblower is. During a CNN appearance with Chris Cuomo Wednesday night, Taylor said he didn't unmask himself earlier because the story would have disappeared within 48 hours. As it's going to around this. Nobody gives a fuck about Taylor. Nobody cares. He just wants to have a little bit of attention, and he wants to be the hero that brings down Trump at the 11th hour. No one would pay attention, and they wouldn't care, he said. Right now, Americans are reviewing the president's resume, his record, and his character. And it is mission critical that people like me, but others, come out now when the voters are listening and tell them who this man really is. No, nobody cares. Nobody cares at this point. I am probably the last person at this point to make up my mind. As I mentioned with my endorsement video from last night. I made up my mind last night. And I'm probably one of the last people to do so. Most everybody else in this country made up their mind on who they were going to vote for at the last debate a week ago. And I'm guessing about 3/4 of the rest of the country made up their mind back in 2018. Either Trump or anybody but Trump. You see the ads stacking up on the AP? My God. No wonder when I don't have ad blocker on, everything runs slow as shit. And the ad blocker keeps failing, but my God, they just keep pumping them in there, or trying. Taylor's anonymous essay was published in September of 2018 by the New York Times, a former newspaper, infuriating the president and setting off a frantic White House leak investigation to try and unmask the author. In the essay, the person, who identified himself only as a senior administration official, said he was part of a secret resistance. I'm not going to do the fucking they shit because it's retarded. Part of a secret resistance to force out to counter Trump's misguided impulses and undermine parts of his agenda. The author wrote, "Many Trump appointees have vowed to do what we can to preserve our democratic institutions while thwarting Mr. Trump's more misguided impulses until he is out of office." The Times identified the author as a senior official in the administration and received some criticism online Wednesday for inflating Taylor's credentials. The newspaper, which said it had granted Taylor anonymity because his job would be jeopardized if his identity was revealed. Why the fuck would he want to stay working in the administration if it was that bad? Why would he care if his job was compromised? What a fucking touch between. If his identity was revealed on Wednesday, confirmed Taylor was the author because he has waived his right to confidentiality and had no other comment. The allegations incensed the president, bolstering his allegations about a deep state operating within his government and conspiring against him. The president, who had long complained about leaks in the White House, also ordered aides to unmask the writer, citing national security concerns to justify possible Justice Department investigation. So, they're all bickering and tit-for-tatting back and forth with each other, and really, at this point in the election doesn't change a damn thing. Miles Taylor's an asshole. President Trump is an asshole. We've known that for 4 years at this point. Nobody's going to have any growth off of this, and literally, Miles Taylor. Oh my God, I'm going to change my mind because it's Miles Taylor. Yeah, that's not going to happen. So, I'm not even going to talk about this on the Monday show. So, poop, that article's gone. Let's talk about Philly. From ABC 6 Action News out of Philly, Philadelphia police discover van loaded with explosive, suspicious equipment. From Dan Quellar. An investigation is underway in Philadelphia after police found explosives and other suspicious cargo inside a van at Logan Circle on Wednesday night. Action News has learned that police recovered propane tanks, torches, and possible dynamite sticks from the van. The bomb squad is investigating. There's no word on who owns the van or if anyone has been arrested. Ooh, I wonder if it's got Washington plates on it, like they did when they tried to blow up Kenosha. Literally. The discovery comes as the city remains on heightened alert following nights of unrest stemming from the police killing of Walter Wallace Jr. By the way, have you seen some of the social media crap that's going on about this? They're trying to make this into a mental health issue. I'm sorry. Even if this is the biggest and most dangerous mental health issue, if you rush at the police with a knife, you are going to get shot. I don't care how much of a mental health issue is going on at this one. And I'm not like some of the Carrie Wedler simps over on Instagram. Police are humans too. I know some of these assholes out there think that as soon as you put on the badge, you stop being a human being and off to the gas chamber with you. That is a dangerous mindset of thinking. Police have the authority and the right to defend themselves just as much as you do from somebody who is coming in intending to do them harm. Yes, I know his mother was out there trying to beg him to stop. I understand that. And as I pointed out yesterday, I'm pretty sure this guy thought that he had carte blanche. Either he was going to survive and get to take down a pig with him, or he was going to be immortalized. Which, given the fact that this is going to be terrible for the polls of Biden, he's not even going to get that. This guy was safe no matter what. Immortalized in the memory of people as a martyr, or walking away with a police officer's blood on his hands and a commendation from his neighborhood. Because that's the mindset that we're getting into off of this. Let's see. Let's keep going off of this. That's the tweet that comes out of here. Philly police discover van loaded with explosives, suspicious equipment at Logan Circle in Center City. Live report coming up at 11. During a virtual press conference Wednesday, Philadelphia Police Commissioner Daniel Outlaw discussed the latest in the investigation, the use of police force, and the recent unrest in the city. As I said yesterday, this investigation has many moving parts, and we are working hard to ensure that a fair and thorough investigation takes place. We plan on releasing premise history of audio of 911 calls and body cam footage of the discharging officers in the near future. So there's a body cam. We're going to see everything that goes off of this, and like I said, the facts are out there already, being disseminated around social media. And yet the investigation is ongoing. The body cam hasn't been released. All we have is a grainy cell phone video of a guy rushing at police with a knife, while innocent bystanders were standing around. So that happened with that. We have some apparent good news that came out of this here. Proposal in the middle of the rioting. Nice way to start the family. Let's have a listen. Philippe on top has the comment of the day that goes along with the post. Perfect timing to go steal a toaster and some wrapping for a wedding gift. So romantic. Yeah, I don't. I I can't wrap my head around this one here. I'm coming out in the middle of a protest where people are burning down the city, and I'm going to ask my old lady to marry me. And I don't even know if the dude was involved in any of the rioting. But it happened. All right, let's keep going here. From Fox News, Biden says no excuse for looting in Philadelphia after black man killed by police. So he knows where his polls are going to go with this. And the president was in West Salem, Wisconsin a couple days ago too, by the way. That is on the other side of the state from where I am at. That's over by La Crosse. I believe that is officially designated as a La Crosse suburb. Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden says there's no excuse whatsoever for the ongoing looting and violence in Philadelphia. The city's been rocked for 2 straight nights by unrest following the death of 27-year-old Walter Wallace Jr., a black man who was fatally shot by police on Monday. The former vice president, speaking with reporters after he and his wife Jill Biden cast their ballots in early voting in their hometown of Wilmington, Delaware, emphasized that there's no excuse whatsoever for the looting and violence. None whatsoever, man. Biden stressed that to be able to protest is totally legitimate, totally reasonable. Fair point. You absolutely can protest. But throwing a brick through the window of a Foot Locker is not protest. But in criticizing the looting, he pointed to the victim's father, Walter Wallace Sr., condemning the violence, telling reporters on Tuesday that I'd feel like anybody having respect for my family and son to stop this violence. Yeah, anybody having respect for my family and son is probably not the avenue you want to go around right now, Biden. You probably don't want to do that, especially with the laptop. And chaos that's going on in the city, the people that have the businesses. Biden highlighted that moving forward, the question of how do you diminish the prospect of lethal shooting in circumstances like the one that we saw will have to be answered. And he said that if elected president, that's going to be part of the commission I set up to determine how we deal with these changes, thus violating the 10th Amendment. The Trump administration says it stands proudly with law enforcement, and in a statement, the White House charged that the riots in Philadelphia are the most recent consequences of the liberal Democrats' war against the police. Yeah, that's definitely a possibility too. And I don't like the police and the unjust laws that they enforce. I don't care for them very much at all. But I know a lot of Americans do. So, in election news, now, yes, President Trump coming up and supporting the police is not going to go over well with people like me, like Ron, like a lot of my libertarian friends. That's not going to go over well with them. But in the eyes of the suburban housewife that wants to make sure that her kids go to school safe every day, that's going to be a key election issue. So it's not necessarily about what I want when I sit here and decide who's right and who's wrong in this one. It is legitimately about electioneering tactics. So that's what we're going to see off of that here. More riots over the past night and explosives in a van. Good job, Philadelphia. Let's read from The Hill. Tech CEOs clash with lawmakers in contentious hearing from Chris Mills Rodrigo. The chief executives of Silicon Valley's most influential tech companies fielded markedly partisan questions on Wednesday in a high-profile hearing less than a week before an election where the content moderation decisions have become a campaign issue. Members of the Senate Commerce Committee largely stayed away from the advertised purpose of the hearing, discussing a federal statute that provides a liability shield for internet companies for content posted on their sites by third parties and lets them make good faith efforts to moderate content and instead use the venue to engage in the article moving and me losing my place. Come on, Hill, do better. To let them make good faith efforts to moderate content and instead use the venue to engage in political attacks. For Republicans, most of the attacks were focused on lobbing unfounded allegations of anti-conservative bias at the witnesses. Twitter's Jack Dorsey, Facebook's Mark Zuckerberg, and Google's Sundar Pichai. Chairman Roger Wicker set the tone for the Republicans when he spent the opening round of questioning needling Dorsey about his company's decision on when to label tweets. Mr. Dorsey, your platform allows foreign dictators to post propaganda, typically without restriction, yet you typically restrict the President of the United States, Wicker said, pointing to tweets from Iran's Ayatollah Ali Khamenei that remain on the platform. Dorsey, in defending his company's policies, noted that Twitter has attached labels to Khamenei's posts, just like it has with some of President Trump's. But unlike Trump, some of Khamenei's tweets have been removed. The Twitter CEO did, however, acknowledge his company mishandling of the recent New York Post story about Hunter Biden with dubious sourcing. Twitter initially prevented the spread of the article on its platform, sparking particularly harsh criticism from conservatives. In a heated exchange, Senator Ted Cruz asked Dorsey, "Who the hell elected you to put you in charge of what the media are allowed to report and what the American people are allowed to hear?" Dorsey said, "That's not what Twitter is doing," adding that his company wants to be more transparent about its policies. Several Republicans at the hearing focused on the ideological makeup of Silicon Valley, suggesting that the deck is stacked against conservatives. Yes. Zuckerberg said his staff might skew left, and Pichai said Google was probably the same. Based on the areas that they recruit from, Dorsey said he didn't ask potential hires about their political affiliations. All three insisted that the personal opinions of the workers did not affect the platform moderation decisions. Okay. People are people, dude. They have their own personal biases, and they bring them to work. It's not a bad thing. Definitely, if you can. I know the developers are out there to go the other direction because we have a BitChute. We have Gab. Even though that may be a little bit too far to the right, we still have it. There is a Minds, a Parler. The talent is out there. You're just not actively seeking it. While most GOP members stuck to similar questions about Twitter's content moderation decisions, of the 81 questions asked by Republicans, 69 were about censorship, according to the New York Times tally. Very few of them related to Section 230, to the provisions in the 1996 Communications Decency Act that was meant to focus on the hearing. In his opening remarks, made public Tuesday, Zuckerberg revealed for the first time that he was open to amending the statute. On Wednesday, Senator Deb Fischer asked what kind of changes he would like to see in Section 230. "Oh, please just don't let me take my site down. I need that sweet, sweet information. I need that to sell to foreign governments for sweet, sweet advertising revenue." Zuckerberg responded that he would want to see more transparency around content moderation, a notion that Dorsey has also backed. "Tim, that's a problem, and we need to look into that." Senator Shelley Moore Capito asked the CEOs whether they would support clarifying a clause in Section 230 that allows platforms to act on otherwise objectionable content. All three said they were in favor of keeping the phrase, arguing it allows them to moderate hate speech, election misinformation, and other unpredictable, dangerous content. Democrats, for their part, spent much of their time criticizing the timing less than a week before Election Day and went after Republicans for focusing on allegations of political bias on social media platforms. "You're biased. No, you're biased. No, you're biased. No, you're biased," is pretty much what I anticipate this hearing was. Yeah. Let's keep going off of this one here. From the Blaze, Mark Zuckerberg was not aware that Facebook's head election integrity official used to work for Biden. This is from Leon Wolf. During a period of intense questioning with senators on Wednesday, Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg revealed that he was not aware that a person who identifies himself as the person who leads efforts to ensure election integrity on Facebook was formerly a policy advisor to the Democratic presidential nominee, Joe Biden. The exchange, which was held via video conference, came in response to the question from Senator John Thune, who was quizzing Zuckerberg about the prevalence of prominent former Democrat staffers in key positions on Facebook. According to Fox News, Thune said, "My understanding is that the person that is in charge of election integrity and security at Facebook is a former Biden staffer. Is there someone closely associated with President Trump in the same role at Facebook?" Thune's question appears to have been referring to Atlantic Council senior fellow Anna Makanju. I am terrible with last names. Whose work for Biden is prominently stated on her Atlantic Council biography. Facebook announced a partnership with the Atlantic Council in 2018 to help boost its election security efforts. According to the Atlantic Council's website, Makanju leads the efforts. In response, Zuckerberg claimed that he was unaware of the connection, stating, "I think having balance is valuable, and we try to do that. I am not aware of the example of someone in charge of this process who worked for Biden in the past, so we can follow up on that." Makanju's connection with the Biden campaign is relevant because of the bitter fight that has been waged between Biden and Trump supporters over the reliability and security of widespread mail-in voting. The Trump campaign has alleged that encouraging widespread mail-in voting could lead to potential voter fraud and disenfranchisement, while the Biden camp disagrees. While in some states have successfully implemented secure mail-in voting after a years-long process, the U.S. has never attempted mail-in voting on the scale that's being attempted this year as part of efforts to help avoid in-person voting due to the coronavirus pandemic. But still, go and drop off your votes because everybody's vote has to count. In spite of the fact that mail-in voting in this manner on this scale has never been attempted before, Facebook announced 4 weeks ago that it was coming down squarely in the Biden camp and would take action to penalize pages that shared stories questioning the reliability or integrity of mail-in voting, which is why they have the finger on the scale. You should have the ability to question your government in a public square and be heard. No matter what the government is doing, you should have the ability to question them. So, and this article goes on just to point out more and more about how Facebook has their finger on the scale, and Zuckerberg is still a robot. I've got one here from the Daily Wire on the hearings. Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey, "We have no proof Hunter Biden bombshells were Russia information." From Ryan Saavedra, Twitter CEO Jack Dorsey admitted during a Senate hearing on Wednesday that his company has no evidence that the explosive New York Post reports on Hunter Biden were Russian disinformation or that the emails were not authentic. Okay, for both Mr. Zuckerberg and Dorsey, who censored New York Post stories or throttled them back, did either one of you have any evidence of the New York Post story as part of Russian disinformation or that the emails aren't authentic? Senator Ron Johnson of my state asked, "Do you have any information that they're not authentic or that they are Russian disinformation?" "We don't," Dorsey responded. "So why would you censor? Why would you prevent that from being disseminated on your platform that is supposed to be for the free expression of ideas, in particular, true ideas?" Johnson continued. "That's a problem, Tim, and we need to look into that. We believe it fell afoul of our hacking materials policy," Dorsey claimed, meanwhile promoting the New York Times story that came about in the same exact manner. "We judged in the moment and—" "But what evidence do you have that it was hacked?" Johnson said. "They weren't hacked." "We judged in the moment and it looked like it was hacked material. That's a problem, Tim, and we need to look into it," Dorsey claimed. "You were wrong," Johnson fired back. and we updated our policy and our enforcement within 24 hours, Dorsey claimed. The Office of the Director of National Intelligence, the FBI, and the DOJ have all reportedly signaled that there was no evidence that the laptop that allegedly belongs to the Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, has anything to do with Russian disinformation. But yet, the seeds are in the minds of every progressive that says, it's Russian! It's the Red Scare! They're all coming for us! They're all coming for us! Let's have a listen to this. We can actually listen to this one. Get your ears back on and...
Okay, for both Mr. Zuckerberg and Dorsey, who censored New York Post stories or throttled them back, do either one of you have any evidence that the New York Post story is part of Russian disinformation, or that those emails aren't authentic? Do any of you have any information whatsoever they're not authentic, or that they are Russian disinformation? Mr. Dorsey.
We don't.
You have no. So why would you censor it? Why did you prevent that from being disseminated on your platform that is supposed to be for the free expression of ideas, and particularly true ideas?
We believed it fell afoul of our hacking materials policy. We judged in the
moment. What evidence did you have that it was hacked? They weren't hacked.
We judged in a moment that it looked like it was hacked materials.
You were wrong.
Surfacing, and we updated our policy and our enforcement within 24 hours.
Okay, for both Mr. Zuckerberg and Dorsey, who censored.
Okay, that started over. Dude, is it just me? Where is it? Dude, it looks like Mark Hamill with a worse beard. Is that just me? That is definitely Mark Hamill in the worst beard, and with a worse beard. All right. So, that's what we have on the tech hearings here. It was pretty much a shit show that everybody thought it was going to be. And yes, we all know that Twitter and Facebook have their finger on the scale. There are ways around it. You just have to be smart about it. But yes, they have their finger on the scale. It's not going to change. They can drag these guys in front of the Senate as many times as they want, and it's still not going to change. So, that's what we have on that. From Fox News, this was actually brought to my attention over in the Discord. If you are not in my Discord, go ahead and get on in there. You can help and shape the show. But from the Discord, damning Hunter Biden documents mysteriously vanish in transit to Los Angeles, Tucker says. From Yale Halon. A shipment of damning documents linked to Hunter Biden and his father mysteriously disappeared in transit to Los Angeles. Fox News host Tucker Carlson revealed on his show on Wednesday night. There's always a lot going on that we don't have time to get to on the air, the Tucker Carlson Tonight host told his audience. But there is something specific going on behind the screens that we did feel like we should tell you about. On Monday of this week, we received from a source of... Wow, I can read. On Monday of this week, we received from a source a collection of confidential documents related to the Biden family, Carlson went on. We believe that they're authentic, they're real, and they're damning. Carlson added that he was contacted by the source while in Los Angeles preparing to interview Tony Bobulinski, a former business associate of Hunter Biden, who detailed Joe's purported knowledge of his son's foreign dealings on the Fox News show Tuesday night. We texted a producer in New York and asked him to send those documents to us in L.A., Carlson explained. And he did that. So Monday afternoon this week, he shipped the documents overnight to California with a large national carrier, a brand name company that you've used, countless times with never a single problem. But the documents never arrived in Los Angeles, Carlson said. Tuesday morning, we received word from the shipping company that our packages had been opened and the contents were missing. The documents had disappeared. The company immediately launched an investigation tracing the envelope from the moment it was dropped off in New York until 3:44 a.m. Tuesday, when an employee at a sorting facility in another state noticed that the package had been opened and arrived empty. The company security team that interviewed every one of its employees who touched the envelope we sent, Carlson said. They searched the plane and the trucks that carried it. They went through the office in New York where our producer dropped that package off. They combed the entire cavernous sorting facility. They used pictures of what we had sent so their searchers would know what to look for. This is a fucking Scooby-Doo episode, I swear. It's vanished. It's gone. There is enough security in all of these companies that somebody knows what the fuck happened here. Otherwise, we wouldn't be using these companies. So, this is a big inside thing. This is a Scooby-Doo episode gone bad. Maybe they are going to pull the mask off somebody and say, aha! It is, I don't know, the banker that we met mysteriously at the beginning of the episode and never saw again. That was a weak pull. But, yes, the documents have disappeared. From the Hill, in some election news, the GOP sees a path to hold the Senate majority. From Alexander Bolton, Republicans see a path running through Michigan and Minnesota to hold a slim Senate majority in the next Congress. The odds are stacked against them, and many see the GOP as the underdog in the fight to control the Senate. But Republicans think that even if as many as 4 GOP incumbents go down in defeat next week, they can keep their majority by ousting Senator Gary Peters in Michigan or Senator Tina Smith in Minnesota. Yeah, I could see both of those states, actually. In their dismissiveness of the prevailing sentiment that Democrats are favored to win control of the Senate. Yeah, they were favored to win control of the Senate last time, too. And the time before that, by the way. Republicans also point to poll numbers for vulnerable GOP incumbents in red-leaning states that are starting to solidify. Still, Senate Republicans acknowledge that they have a tough map to defend with up to 23 seats up for re-election compared to only 12 Democrats. GOP senators who control 53 seats are confident of vanquishing Senator Doug Jones in Alabama, meaning Democrats would need to win at least 4 Republican-held seats and the White House to make Senator Charles Schumer the new majority leader. I think it's even money. It's 50-50. There are some huge fights going on and huge amounts of money being spent in races are competitive, but our candidates are doing a good job. They're holding their own, Senate Majority Whip John Thune said on Wednesday. Political handicappers right now are giving Democrats the edge. I don't know about that. I've seen the map. And they tried to say right from the beginning that this was a Democrat-heavy, Democrat-leading map, and I don't see it. I looked at the same map as everyone else is. I thought that Republicans were going to lose seats, but I thought 51 was going to be the number. 51-49 was going to be the number when I started analyzing this. And I still think that it's going to be 51-49. .538, a prominent prognosticator, said Democrats are favored to win the Senate and have an 80% chance of holding between 48 and 55 seats in the next Congress. But GOP senators and party strategists say there has been too much focus on potential Democratic pickups in traditionally Republican states such as Georgia and Montana and Texas, and not enough on potential upsets in Michigan and Minnesota, where Peters and Smith hold small leads over the challengers. Republicans are hopeful that Michigan candidate John James, who is black, can pick up enough African American voters in urban areas and perform well in rural areas to unseat Peters. Why does it have to be identity? Why? Is that the first thing that we have to think about, is what color a dude's skin is? Does he make good policy or not? Does he have a good plan for good policy or not? Does he have a good plan to represent the state government of Minnesota or not? Why does his skin color have to play into anything? I think Michigan's an opportunity that people are at least somewhat aware that John James has done a great job of raising money, and I think if he can turn out voters in the city, he'll do well outstate. He's got a good shot, Thune said. So, McConnell thinks he's going to hold it. I think he's going to hold it. 538 says, blowout, Democrat, filibuster-proof majority Democrats in the Senate. blowout, I'm telling you. I think they're going to lose seats, but I don't think it's going to be enough to give control back to Democrats. 51-49 is what I see out of the map that I'm seeing. All right, from CNN. Trump pitches economic plan for Hispanic Americans 6 days before the election. From Megan Vasquez. President Trump announced a 2-page second-term vision for Hispanic American community, the American Dream Plan, to rally-goers in Arizona on Wednesday, 6 days before Election Day. Over the next 4 years, the American Dream Plan will bring more than 2 million new jobs to Hispanic communities, create over 500,000 new Hispanic-owned small businesses, which will end up being large businesses if I know you, and I know you well, Trump said in Goodyear, Arizona. The president also said the plan would expand opportunities for federal contracting and would increase access to capital by hundreds of billions of dollars. The plan, a White House document that the White House's press office deferred to the Trump campaign on for comment, is a 2-page bullet-pointed summary of ambitious but largely general goals ranging from the economy to education to immigration. Among the goals, to instill policies to add 500,000 Hispanic-owned businesses, empower every family in America with school choice now, and streamline the process to increase the number of Hispanic-serving institutions. The Trump campaign painted the plan as one of fulfilling promises of America that brings so many people to our shores, including a thriving economy, educational opportunity, freedom, and community. But many of the plan's goals are consistent with what Trump has said he is already accomplishing in office or wants to accomplish with a second term. At least one goal to resolve deferred action for childhood arrivals with a permanent solution is something the president has promised for years. Roughly 32 million Hispanics are expected to be eligible to vote in 2020, making them the largest minority group in U.S. presidential election history. And while Latino voters have generally tended to lean more Democrat, there are signs that Trump is gaining ground among Hispanic voters in key states such as Florida, where Cuban expats go to settle after escaping communism. Polls have shown that Trump has garnered increased support from Hispanics over the last 4 years, and Joe Biden appears to be trailing in Hispanic support compared with his predecessor, 2016 Democratic presidential nominee Hillary Clinton. Well, you better vote for me, or something you might get a deep bout of depression. Roughly 32 million Hispanics are expected to be. I read that one already. When Trump stepped into the national political stage in 2015, he denigrated Mexicans coming to the U.S. as criminals and rapists. That did not happen. Kicking off a hallmark of his political rhetoric for years to come. So, he's got a plan. I don't know how well the plan is, and I've been a staunch proponent of start a new program in the federal government to enlist everybody who has DACA, who receives DACA, into a green card plan so they can go through the process. There needs to be a process. You don't just wave a wand and say, oh, you're legal now. But the people in DACA are in immigration status limbo. They're neither legal nor illegal. They're in limbo where they sit right now, and it's not fair to them. We know that they're being used as political pawns at this point. You better vote for a Democrat, or the next Republican might end the DACA program and you might get deported because you're not actually legal, with no path to get them back into legal status, so they never have to worry about it again. That's always been my vision for DACA and the DREAM Act, and the American DREAM Act for that matter. Get these people out of immigration limbo. I mean, hell, even deporting them at this point would be better than having them sit and wonder every day whether the DACA program ends and they get deported. At least they'll know. I don't think it's right at this point, but at least they'll know. So we'll see what happens off of this here. I have little faith in this particular aspect of the Trump presidency. Let's keep going here from Fox News. Biden and Trump to tangle in Tampa on Thursday. So, those of you who were in Tampa, which I believe, I'm not going to say who it is, but I believe one of my followers who's going to watch this video in the after effect is in Tampa. They're going to be in Tampa on the same day, at the same time, on Thursday. This is from Paul Steinhauser. Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden and President Trump hold dueling rallies Thursday in Tampa, Florida, the western anchor of the critical I-4 swing region in the extremely crucial general election battleground state. The president goes first, holding an early afternoon rally outside of Raymond James Stadium, which is home to the NFL's Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The former vice president goes second, headlining a socially distanced drive-in car rally in the early evening. Biden arrives in Tampa after holding a campaign event earlier in the day in Democratic-rich Broward County in southeast Florida. Broward, huh? You know, the Parkland place, the scared sheriff place, the election interference place, that Democratic. I wouldn't want to tie myself to that place if I was a candidate for anything. The president gets an extra bonus. Raymond James Stadium is a site for in-person early voting, and the Trump campaign is banking on some supporters casting a ballot either before or after the rally. By law, campaigning isn't allowed within 150 feet of a polling location, but the rally is being held in the stadium's north parking lot, which is technically just outside the no electioneering zone. You're still treading on very dangerous territory for legal challenges there. I hate to tell you this, because a good lawyer is going to get a hold of this and say, I don't know, man. I think the whole property is the whole property is the polling place, man. So, you know, this is intimidation. I would be very, very careful about this. Very careful about going down this path. With 29 electoral votes up for grabs, Florida is the largest of the traditional battleground states. 20 years ago, it was the state that decided the presidential election. Bush v. Gore. We're going to go Bush v. Gore again. So that's what they're seeing. Dueling rallies in Florida, the Sunshine State. And I think that Biden's going to get spanked in Florida just because of the amount of progressivism and the amount of communism that's standing behind him as he goes along. Speaking of elections and what they want out of them, Tommy Chong tweeted this out yesterday, and I wanted to make you guys aware of this. And this is something that I discussed in my solo video as well. Tommy Chong tweets out, "When we vote on November 3rd, 2029, man," which I think was a typo. I think he meant 2020. "We will be voting out Trump and Biden in. Any violence by armed Trump supporters will be met by the United States of America, man, who will use its might to quell any unlawful acts. This country was born to resist a dictator, man. Traitors will be dealt with." And, okay, a lot of people that are reading this are focusing on the 2029 typo and not the actual meat of this tweet. The actual meat that's in this tweet right here is that we'll use the United States of America to quell any unlawful acts. Traitors will be dealt with, but don't worry, we were born to resist a dictator. This was a very, very dictatorial statement from a far left dude. When they say that they were born to resist a dictator. We're going to resist a dictator by being dictators. And I don't know if anybody else saw the irony in this. I can't be the only one who saw that. And yes, unfortunately, most people are going to focus on the 2029 point and forget about the fact that the left in this country has lost their fucking minds, and it's all about power at this point. They've lost their damn minds. They need power. They want to be in power so bad, so hard, that they will do anything, including raising a dictatorial state, as long as they're not the ones who are being suppressed and under the boot. as long as those evil Trump people over there are the ones that are doing the suppressing. They're willing to have a dictatorship. They just don't want one where they're not in power. They've lost their minds. They are willing to turn BLM and Antifa against their own cities. And I remember, and I pointed this out once again in the solo video, when Eric Swalwell came out and says, well, we're going to get all these guns, man, and the people want to fight back. You know, the U.S. government has nukes, man. And all of the left-wing media says, well, of course, Eric Swalwell, no government would turn nuclear weapons against their own people and their own infrastructure. And yet, this past summer, we saw progressives encouraging BLM riots and protests because of injustice, willing to turn BLM and Antifa against their own people and their own infrastructure. These people will do whatever it takes to get themselves back in power and make sure that they never lose it again. They've lost their fucking minds, and every one of them needs to be voted out of office. Rant over, let's keep going. I got still quite a bit to go through with this. From the Daily Wire, AOC suggests she may seek a higher office from Eric Quintanar. Oh yeah, I get to do my Rosie Perez impression. Freshman Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, currently the youngest representative in the legislative branch, may be looking at even higher office in the future. During an interview with Vanity Fair, the Democratic Socialist Congresswoman revealed that she doesn't know if I'm really going to be staying in the House forever. If I do stay in the House, what will that look like? I don't see myself really staying where I'm at for the rest of my life, she added, which could be simply imply seeking... Oh wait, that's not a quote. Which could simply imply seeking a congressional leadership position or moving beyond the House of Representatives. Back in January, New York Magazine reported that people close to Ocasio-Cortez discussed the possibility of running for mayor of New York City. Oh my fucking God, do it. Do it. Oh my God, do it. As a successor to Bill de Blasio, but the idea was ruled out. While Ocasio-Cortez has drawn some buzz as a potential successor to either Schumer or Gillibrand, comments she made to Vanity Fair suggest a role in the Democratic presidential administration. I don't want to aspire to quote-unquote higher position just for the sake of the title, or just for the sake of having different or higher position. I truly make an assessment to see if I can be more effective. And so, I don't know if I could necessarily be more effective in an administration. But for me, that's always what the question comes down to, said the New York Congresswoman. Please. Oh my God, please run. And yes, we know that for a while, she thinks that she's going to come up and she's going to primary out Schumer and force him out and become the Senate Majority Leader. And this is going to be an AOC government. I can believe. For the most part, I can't believe, though, that she actually won her primary this time through. She has been terrible for her district, and she's dumb. I wouldn't want that representing me, because I wouldn't want the rest of the country to look at and see, well, do they think I'm as dumb as she is because I voted for her? But I don't live in New York either, so that's what we have off of this. From The Hill, Supreme Court won't fast-track GOP bid to block Pennsylvania mail ballot extension, from John Krusel. The Supreme Court on Wednesday rejected a request from Pennsylvania Republicans to fast-track their bid to block a mail ballot due date extension in the key battleground state. The development means the court would not consider the case until after Election Day, though the court's three most conservative members indicated that they would have preferred to rule on the extension before then. Justice Amy Coney Barrett, who took the bench for her first day on Tuesday, did not take part in considering the case. They're really going to try and bring this back up again. So, once again, they kicked it back. We don't really need to go into this because we talked about this numerous times, both when this happened the first time and yesterday when it happened in my state, and it got a completely different result for a completely different reason. And once again, I don't like the fact that Pennsylvania is accepting ballots up to 3 days after the election. I don't like the fact. But their legislature weighed in on it. So there's not much that I can do about it. Article 2, Section 1. The states shall regulate how their elections function by the legislation. There's really nothing the Supreme Court can do, and for them to weigh in and impose their will would be unconstitutional in and of itself and lead to a very, very dangerous route. I don't like the outcome, but I like the constitutionality of it. So, yep, they're trying it again. They're going to try it one more time before Election Day. I guarantee it, to try and get this done, to make sure that the ballots that came in after Election Day don't get counted. And they lost. Apples and oranges, they lost this one. Deal with it and get more people out to vote, is all that I can tell you. Take advantage of the rule if you can, but get more people out there to vote, is my suggestion to Pennsylvania Republicans. Get more people to vote, and then you can win by numbers rather than technicalities. All right. From the Daily Wire, suspected terrorist kills 3 in French church attack. Mayor calls to purge Islamofascism, from Tim Pierce. 3 people died from a knife attack in Nice, France on Thursday in what may be the 3rd terror attack on French soil in about a month. A man wielding a knife entered the Notre Dame Basilica in Nice and killed 2 people and fatally wounded a 3rd who was able to escape outside the church before dying. According to French authorities, police are treating the incident as an act of terrorism. According to the Wall Street Journal. Everything leads us to believe that this was a terrorist attack within Notre Dame Basilica, Nice Mayor Christian Estrosi said on Twitter. Several French media outlets report that at least one of the victims of the attack was beheaded, mirroring an attack earlier this month in which a French schoolteacher was beheaded by a suspected Islamic radical. Police captured the attacker soon after the incident, shooting him in the shoulder and transporting him to a local hospital, according to The Guardian. Estrosi said that while the man was being taken into custody, he repeatedly yelled, "Allahu Akbar!" But don't worry, it has nothing to do with the religion of peace. Don't worry about any of that. It has nothing to do with any of it. We have 2 people killed inside the church and a 3rd person who was in a bar facing the church when she had taken refuge, Estrosi said. Enough is enough. We have to remove this Islamofascism from our territory. And, as always, freedom of religion is an important thing to the American dream. It has nothing to do with French and France. They don't have that in any of their governing documents, the freedom of religion. I think they have a freedom from religion clause, if I'm not mistaken, but, they don't have anything like this. But still, the peaceful people who just want to kneel and pray towards Mecca 25 times a day, stop what they're doing and just kneel and pray towards Mecca, no problem with that. But there is a fundamental cell of people who come into these countries hoping to fundamentally change them in one way or another. Kill the resistors, breed their way into dominance. There are extremists that are out for that lifestyle. And that's something to keep in mind as you're trying to integrate through free immigration. Immigration can be a good thing, and diversity can be a good thing. But just remember, you will get some of the extreme radicals in with the peaceful people. And hopefully you get mostly peaceful people. No matter where you're pulling people in from. All right, let's keep going here. I've got a thread here that was brought to my attention by Britt from the Freckles and Britt show. And she commented on this as well. The Girl Scouts. Earlier today, we shared a post highlighting the 5 women who have been appointed to the Supreme Court. It was quickly viewed as a political and partisan statement, which was not our intent, and we have removed the post. Girl Scouts of the USA is a non-political, non-partisan organization. We are neither red nor blue, but Girl Scout green. We are here to lift up girls and women. And Britt pointed out, correctly, I believe, yeah, it wasn't, but it looks extremely political and partisan that you took it down. So, and we'll read from Newsweek on this one here. Girl Scouts post tweet congratulating Amy Coney Barrett, then delete it after criticism from Jeffrey Martin. The Girl Scouts of America tweeted a congratulatory message to Justice Amy Coney Barrett on Wednesday, which was deleted after negative comments about the post appeared online. Barrett, the third conservative justice appointed to the U.S. Supreme Court by President Trump, faced opposition from some lawmakers who expressed concern that Barrett would overturn rulings concerning access to health care. Among those rulings was Roe v. Wade, the 1973 decision that legalized abortion. No, it didn't. It was right to privacy. In the tweet, the Girl Scouts praised Barrett for becoming the fifth woman appointed to the Supreme Court since its inception in 1989. Barrett is pictured beside liberal justices Elena Kagan and the late Ruth Bader Ginsburg. I wonder if I can see this whole photo. Let's see. I don't know if I'm going to be able to or not. Yes, there we go. That was the whole tweet, which was screen capped, thankfully, from somebody. Female justices to the Supreme Court. Let's keep reading. CNN analyst Rasha Rangappa was among those who criticized the post. Was Barrett a Girl Scout? If not, why the post, knowing how divisive it is at this moment? Do you celebrate every new female senator who gets elected or governor? Sorry, but this was weird and tone deaf. Girl Scout mom. Actor Amber Tamblyn called the Girl Scouts tweet a really disappointing, and it won't age well when access to safe abortion and the healthcare needs of millions of women and girls is gutted in this country because of Barrett's addition to the court. Dude, I want these people's crystal ball, seriously. Because they know what's going to happen, and none of the rest of us do. But they seem to know exactly what's going to happen off of this. And for shame for these fucking people. I'm sorry, I've got to get on another rant off of this one here. For fucking shame. This is a tremendous accomplishment by a career woman on top of it. A woman who's able to both have children and a husband and a family life. And still be a professor at Notre Dame. And a 7th Circuit Court judge. And a Supreme Court justice. You're just pissed because this goes against the feminist ideology that you've been pushing along, that women have to choose between having a family and being a career woman. For shame. For shame. That is a tremendous and historical accomplishment. And you just don't like it because it was the evil orange man who appointed her. For shame. Anyway. Sorry. A little bit ranty today. But people are doing stupid shit. Let's keep going. From The Blaze, transgender activist with male genitalia files human rights complaint after being rejected by a female-only beauty pageant. This is from Phil Shibber. A Canadian transgender activist has filed a human rights complaint against Canada Galaxy Pageants after not being selected by the female-only pageant because she still has male genitalia. Jessica Yaniv, formerly known as Jonathan Yaniv, filed the complaint with the Human Rights Tribunal of Ontario this week, alleged discrimination based on gender identity, gender expression, and sex in violation of the Ontario Human Rights Code, which is providing legal counsel to the pageant. Yaniv is reportedly seeking $10,000 in damages for injury to dignity and feelings, and is requesting the tribunal rule that no organization can turn someone away solely because they have male genitalia. But, according to the Justice Center, Yaniv, a serial complainant, was initially dishonest, failing to disclose to the pageant that she still had male genitalia at the time of her application. So, yeah, Yaniv is back. And now, Yaniv, which, I mean, we've seen what Jessica Yaniv looks like, wants to be in a beauty pageant. With a big swinging one. I have to ask at this point, is Jessica Yaniv a right-wing operative at this point? Because that seems to be all that she's doing, is bringing attention against these extremely left-wing outlets. You know, the Muslim ball waxing place or bikini waxing place. The beauty shop with the Muslim woman who cannot touch a male genitalia other than her husband's by her religion was one of them that was targeted. A beauty pageant. Really? Come on. This is either the biggest epic troll in the world. I mean, I have to wonder if this is another Borat copycat. Going to a place where a Muslim woman works to try and get his weird tranny balls waxed. And then now trying to get on a beauty pageant stage. This is either an epic troll, this is a mentally disturbed human being, or we're watching another Borat movie getting filmed. One of these is happening right now. And I'm not entirely convinced it's the middle one. All right, let's see. I've got one more here to do, and then we'll do a thing that I like and a thing that I hate, and we'll head on out of here. So, last one. Chelsea Handler verbally assaults conservatives in airports, brags about it on The View, from Paul Bois. Comedian Chelsea Handler said during an interview on The View this week that she would vent her rage against President Trump and his supporters at the airport by visiting the Fox News section of the first class lounge and verbally assaulting them. Well, I would walk into airports and I would go to the first class lounge, check in, and then run over to the Fox News section and start assaulting people, she said, as reported by Newsbusters. Like, I would go in and be like, you're a racist, and then I would run out, and I would run back in and go, do you want your daughter to have rights? Because she won't. And then I would run out, and then I would run back into the Fox News section and I would go, are you still a racist? I mean, I was out of my tree and my level of outrage was just not, I couldn't handle it anymore. My veins were throbbing. And I wanted to learn how to talk to Trump supporters or conservatives at this time in 2016. Now, Trump supporters, I don't have anything to say to them anymore at this juncture. But I wanted to be able to have the conversations I was being prevented from having because of my anger. You know, there was a time when I actually liked Chelsea Handler's show. And honestly, yes, even back in 2007, or 2009, 2010, when I was watching Chelsea lately, yes, she had a liberal bias. But she wasn't out of her goddamn mind liberal bias. I knew that she was going after conservatives on the court because politics was starting to become a part of the reality and the conversation. I knew that she had it in for Bush, that she had it in for Romney, which, if you don't have it in for Bush and Romney, I don't trust you anyway. But I was still a neocon at the time, and even then, I could still enjoy her comedy. But this woman is completely off the fucking rails. Completely. This woman is fucking nuts. But apparently people still like her because she's still getting first class flights, and I guess 50 got another ride on that sweet, sweet, wrinkled, jerky body. I can't even say that with a straight face. And yes, she's running into the first class lounge just to call Republicans racists. How original. All right. And that's going to be it for the news today. Even though the thing that I like and the thing that I hate are actually going to be still news. That's it for the mainline news. Now we'll do a thing that I like and a thing that I hate, and we'll head on out of here. So, thing that I like today, 2 articles back to back on the same topic. First, from CHS 8 out of West Virginia. 13 missing kids found in West Virginia through efforts of the U.S. Marshals Task Force. So they found 13 missing kids in West Virginia. And on top of that, from the New York Post, 45 missing children rescued, 179 arrested in Ohio human trafficking sting. So between West Virginia and Ohio, over 50 missing kids are found, can get back to their parents. And yes, there's going to be trauma there. They are going to have to find some way to make peace with what happened. There's going to be therapy involved. But 50 missing kids and more, almost 60, can be reunited. No, over 60, I think. No, not quite 60. I can't do math right now. almost 60 kids are able to get back home, be reunited with their parents. And this has been a running theme throughout this year. On top of the COVID, on top of the election year bullshit, on top of BLM, the Department of Justice, federal authorities, have been doing what federal authorities should be doing. Not going after victimless drug crimes and victimless shit like that we see going around off of there, what the federal government thinks they should be doing, but actually going out, using their resources, finding missing kids, doing stings on human trafficking, getting these kids reunited with their families. I love that this is happening. It kind of pisses me off that you have to go to a local outlet or the New York Post to come and see it. But the reality is, these kids are getting picked up, brought back home, where they can both get the therapy that they need and be back with their parents or their legal guardians. And I love seeing this. I love seeing this. I hope the best for these families. I hope the recovery is quick. I know in some cases it's not going to be, but I hope the recovery is very quick for these children, that they can get back to leading normal lives, that they can be back with the loving arms of their families who miss them, and all the best comes out for them. I absolutely love seeing this. And I hope that we see more of this. Something I didn't mention in my solo video. But yes, this is happening under a Trump DOJ. And I hope we get 4 more years of Trump and we see a lot more of this. Alright. And now for a thing that I hate. From the Daily Wire, Bezos, who owns Amazon and WAPO, might buy CNN, report says, from Hank Berrien. According to Fox Business, bankers are speculating that the world's richest man, Jeff Bezos, who owns Amazon.com and the Washington Post, may be interested in purchasing CNN. Although such a purchase would cost a reported $10 billion, which Bezos will just reach into his fucking pocket and grab, Bezos is worth an estimated $193 billion, so he can afford it. A person close to Bezos denied the rumor, telling the Daily Mail, "There's been zero talk on this." CNN is owned by AT&T. AT&T, which bought Time Warner for $85 billion in 2016, has been saddled with tens of billions of dollars of debt, and its shares have fallen by more than 31% this year, the Daily Mail noted. A banker told Fox and AT&T is shying away from the controversial content. The banker added, "No one really has any qualms about Turner Classic Movies, but CNN is a lightning rod, and you know why, particularly with Republicans." And Bezos is doing this as a power play. If Biden gets in, if he manages to squeak by, get the squeaker, get the presidency, there is going to be crackdown on media outlets. Or the other side of it, if Trump gets in, or stays in rather, then Bezos has another platform to sit and rail against him for 4 more years. But definitely, Bezos is looking at buying CNN right now so he can go out and push out more fluff piece coverage of a Biden administration, because I'm going to crack down on the taxes of all the rich and corporate people. In spite of the fact that he's not going to crack down on Bezos. He is not, 100% not going to crack down on Bezos, because Bezos owns WAPO and he wants to own CNN. 2 publications that kneel down and suck off any Democrat that's in office. They're not going to go after him for anything. Are you out of your mind? No, that's not going to happen. Bezos is going to buy CNN, and the WAPO is going to fillet a Biden administration constantly, and CNN is going to lick out on Kamala Harris constantly, and they're just mysteriously going to avoid paying any extra taxes anywhere. They might even get a fucking tax cut. And the eat the rich people are going to come out and say, "Well, Bezos, he's so rich. He's so rich, we need to tax it more." And meanwhile, they're going to consume whatever CNN tells them to on a daily basis and believe it as gospel, no matter how off the fucking wall it is. Alright, and that's going to be it for the day. We will be back here later on tonight with some more video games. We're going to play some more Mario RPG. I'm fairly excited for that, because we skipped last week because of the debates. There's no debate. I need some unwind time. I've been working nonstop for the last 3 weeks, between the debates, election time, and everything else that comes up along with that, and my regular 40-hour-a-week job. I've been going nonstop. We need some relaxed time. We need some video game time, and I want to share it with you guys. So come and join us later on tonight. That is going to be from 8 to 11, maybe a little bit longer, but 8 to 11 tonight. Come and hang out. Looking forward to seeing you guys. Or we'll be back here tomorrow with more Contemporary. Until then, I'm Jay Edgar, and this is Contemporary.